Shane Stedman had passed away. Now, Shane Stedman had such a history at this radio station. It goes back an awfully long way, and I'll talk about it when I talk to his son, because I'm pleased to say that his son Luke is on the line to have a chat about his very fabulous and famous father. G'day, mate.
Hi, mate. How are you?
I'm great, but I'm very sorry about the passing of your dad.
Oh, thank you so much. I really appreciate that. We've had so much love and support come in over the last couple of days. It's been overwhelming and very heartfelt, and making the experience a little bit less upsetting.
Yeah, it's upsetting, mate, when you lose anybody, particularly your dad. And mate, I have to tell you, and I was at 2SM very early in my career in 1974. And for those who don't remember, that's when 2SM was in 257 Clarence Street. That's long ago, that is. And Shane was such a feature of 2SM. He'd do surf reports in the morning, in the afternoon. If something was happening on the beach, he'd be called on the phone and he'd be on. He was a big star, your dad.
Well, thank you so much. He would be most stoked to hear that. Yeah. And I was fortunate enough to do a lot of those journeys with him in the morning, going and checking out all the surf locations. Yeah. And it was such a fun ride. He had a phone in the car, and it was like being in some sort of 007 movie so long ago. A phone never belonged in a Suzuki, and that was the car he drove around to check out all the surf spots. So, yeah, they were great times.
Did he have one of those phones that was like a brick, and the phone was on top of the brick? It must have been something like that back then.
It was the model before that, so not even like they weren't even like mobile. This thing was fixed to the car and was sort of like a landline, and was just such a relic.
Relic, right?
But back then it was very futuristic.
Yeah, 50 years ago. Well, the thing is, I mean, apart from being a surf reporter, I mean, he was a great surfer himself, your dad, wasn't he?
Yeah, I was really fortunate. I was born into surfing. I didn't have an option.
Yeah.
He made surfboards for a living. He was doing surf reports. He was commentating surfing events, and I was fortunate enough to be around himself and a lot of great people from the surf industry. So I immediately aspired to follow in his footsteps.
I didn't know this, but is it true that Shane was part of the invention of the now very famous Ugg boots?
Yes, sir. He certainly was.
Wow.
Yeah. He was doing a surf trip, and he was visiting a shaping bay in Victoria or South Australia, I believe, and it was so cold. And one of the guys who was working in the bays had this boot on, and my dad was impressed with the making of it. And he said, "What do you call that?" And he's like, "Oh, I call it my Ugg boot." And Dad was like, "Do you mind if I make those?" And he's like, "Go for your life." And it was. Back then, those boots were just held together with masking tape and resin. Yeah. And they went on to doing production. And yeah.
Please tell me he made a bucket load of money out of it.
No, mate.
No? Well, that's spooky, mate. I was driving out to have lunch with some mates of ours in the radio business on Friday, and I went past the home of the Ugg boot factory, which is around the back of town there somewhere. I thought, and then I heard this story that Dad was around with the Ugg boots. Now, here's the thing about him. Great and a surfboard maker. That's the thing. I mean, people of my generation remember all of this. Did he also, I've got a memory, put his name to skateboards as well, Shane, or not?
He was always trying to experiment with different things. He did, using fiberglass, did swimming pools, did basin cabinets, and did skateboards as well. But they weren't popular. Nothing was as popular as the Shane Pop Out, which I think he was probably most famous for. And he really just loved the ocean just as much as I did, and I think that's why he did so well with making boards.
Mate, it was very obvious how much your dad loved the ocean when you listened to him on the radio, and I think I think he kept doing that right through until the 80s, and I think the ABC do one occasionally, but surf reports per se are just not considered important anymore, are they? Which is a shame.
No, yeah, there's so much accessibility to cams on the beach, and everyone can get access to that whenever they need. So it's really at your fingertips now.
Yeah, it is. Now, I understand, and so they should, the local council are planning a tribute to Shane, moving a motion about that today. Is that right?
Well, you know, it's all this has happened so quickly. We're definitely planning a ceremony at Crescent Head where we'll do a paddle out and just sort of do a blessing and remember Dad in the way that he wanted to remember it. And we're hoping to be doing that at the end of the month.
I think it's just fantastic. You know, you brought back such a memory for me, mate. You really have. And I'm sorry about the passing of your dad, but what a legend. And I was just thinking this morning about, that era where we had Bernard Midget Farrelly, who was a world surfing champion. I think we lost Midget probably the best part of 10 years ago. And Nat Young, who I think Nat's still around. He'd be in his late 70s now. See, that's the thing. And we're talking about all of this wonderful activity more than 50 years ago.
Yes, Nat Young is definitely still around.
Yeah.
I spoke to his son the other day, and he's. But yeah, there's a lot of legends there, and all legends get older.
They do. Yeah.
Unfortunately, none of us will escape that. But look, the surfing is just a great community. I went up to the comp on the Gold Coast yesterday and ran into Rabbit Bartholomew.
Oh, right. Yeah, cool. He
told me a story about Dad, and there's lots of great stories that I'm excited to hear more about as I run into people that I haven't seen for a long time. And
that's why it's a pleasure to talk to you. Yeah, and the Steph Gilmore one, which was also great too up at the Gold Coast. Yeah,
really great.
Mate, it's been terrific to talk to you. And again, all of our commiserations on the passing of your dad. He was a legend. There's no doubt about that.
Thank you so much. We really appreciate it. My sister and I, Bonnie, are really grateful to have people like yourself call up and say thanks. So, appreciate it.
Good on you, Luke. Thanks for the chat. Lovely to talk to you, mate.
You too. Bye.
Yeah, Luke Stedman, the son of Shane. And he was, and I'm sure a lot of you were around, listening to 2SM, this radio station, back in those days, and it was in 257 Clarence Street when I was there, and it hasn't been there for a very long time.